Do you see the comments? Here we go. Well, folks, it's that time again. LA Galaxy, New York Red Bulls. Well, the last time these two teams met was the MLS Cup. Obviously, the match ended with a Galaxy victory. Galaxy lifting a record 6 cup. There are a lot of tears, a lot of hugs, not just between Galaxy fans, but with Red Bulls fans. And I remember, like, me and Bryant met several Red Bulls fans throughout the stadium, and afterwards we got to hang out with a bunch of them. And it was a completely different time than it is today. Things have changed a lot. LA Galaxy still hasn't won a game yet. They're heading into New York, looking to get that first W. But those Red Bulls, they see a lot of red in front of them, and well, it's tough times for Galaxy fans. But is it all that good for Red Bulls too? Let's get into it.
You're tuned into news across the galaxy, where they talk all things LA Galaxy with the Nag Boys. Let's start nagging.
Fellow G's and esteemed Red Bulls, welcome to News Across the Galaxy's The Midweek Show, coming at you live from NAG Studios East. I'm your host, Edgar Zuniga, with my partner in crime on the ones and twos, Bryant Lobos. Let's hear those horns for Bryant. On today's show, we're going to talk about Red Bull New York, get a different perspective on LA Galaxy's shocking 2024 season, and preview this Saturday's rematch of MLS Cup 24. And to help us do all that, we are honored to be joined once again by our featured guest, coming at us live all the way from New Jersey, co-host of the Designated Pundits and a good friend of the show. It's Bob Ventimiglia. Welcome to the MidWeek Show, Bob. How are you doing, buddy?
Let's go. Doing pretty well. It's been a really nice week, and we got some soccer this weekend. We have midweek coming up next week, so I'm going to be behind a mic more than I'm not for the next about 15 days. Love to see it. Great time to be here.
Well, Bob, it's always nice to have you on. I'm a big fan of your show, The Designated Pundits. I go on there whenever I get the chance to, which is kind of hard when you have a 5-year-old. But whenever I can, I get on there just to get a perspective on what's going on around the league, what you guys have to say about all the different teams. And it's been extra special and interesting for me to listen to what you guys have to say about the Galaxy when you guys talk about them. Because, damn, nobody could have predicted this season for the LA Galaxy. It's been really weird. I know from the outside, you're probably like, what the hell? Imagine being at the center of all this. it's
odd. It's been wild, but I don't think it's completely unpredictable just being on the losses you had this season. Of course, we didn't really have Paint Still Missing any significant time being like on my beginning of the season card, but Ricky Pouge, kind of the stir that mixes the drink there. I know you guys had a lot of bad things to say about him at different points last year. I know it's kind of a love-hate relationship, right? Like, he's doing too much, he's hurting the team, but we can't play without him. It's one of those, kind of weird places in the middle there. But you had to blow up the team. You guys are like GAM poor, and you had to get rid of Brugman. You had to get rid of some of these players, and that's what happens. You miss on one DP, and then the whole team goes that way. When I say it's not completely unpredictable, I mean, a lot of things went right for the Galaxy last year, and you guys know how much, especially in the Greg Vanney system, when the steam starts rolling, it's unstoppable. But getting those wheels turning can be a little bit of an issue. And we saw that in 2023, where you guys were the worst team in the Western Conference. Then all of a sudden, everything turns around. You guys get momentum, and you take it right to MLS Cup. And then at the beginning of this year, the momentum was opposite. It was backwards. You lost Joveljic. You lost Pouge. You lost Painstill for a big part of the season. And I would highly doubt he's going to be at 100% at any point during the 2025 MLS regular season. So, unpredictable, sure, we'll go with that. We'll say seldom predicted. Might be a better moniker for that.
Well, let's get into what happened right after MLS Cup, because the thread of these two clubs has been obviously the few times that they get to meet, and then they got to meet in the biggest match of the season, which is MLS Cup. Immediately following MLS Cup, what was the fallout from the loss to LA Galaxy? And were there any significant changes to the roster, Red Bull?
Yeah, so there was no fallout. I would say very, very little. It's hard to expect a different result when you're getting the same result week in and week out, year in and year out. This team has been great for a long time, and we didn't win a cup the 5 years where we were the best team in the league each and every time. There's no reason to expect one this year, so I think that last year was a big disappointment with the way a lot of different things went. The team was not good. The team was not good through most of the season. There was one big roster change that happened heading into the playoffs, and that's kind of switching and experimenting with a 5-man back line or a 3-man back line. I don't really care which way you go. I call it a 5-man. Someone else, just with wingers up and down the side with a little less defensive responsibility because you have a third man sitting back. And it was like lightning in a bottle. The team was not good and they weren't exciting during that time, but they were getting results. And Red Bull soccer isn't about winning 1-0 or squeaking out 0-0 results in winning in penalties. But that's kind of what Red Bull did throughout the end of the season last year. We all knew that it was inevitable that we weren't going to win. It's kind of disheartened. I know you guys were like crying on the podcast, like, it's been 5 years since we won a cup. We deserve it. Red Bulls are the exact opposite expectation. We don't think that that's going to happen, but there was investment in the interesting part, bringing in Eric Choupo-Moting. That happened in the MLS Cup run-up. Like, we are in the playoffs heading to MLS Cup and we're finding out about players we're signing for next year. So I think there was more optimism for the future than there was hope in the moment, if that makes any sense. And, it's strange for me to say because I was brought on the podcast circuit and run out on everyone's show for 2 weeks before MLS Cup. And, I understand the assignment. I know you bring me on to talk about how we could win, but I didn't actually think that was it was a likelihood. I thought it was, hey, it's going to be nice if it does happen. Maybe we can keep something going. Maybe not the case, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But I think overall, it was let's show us what we can do. Let's enjoy being here because we know, how easy, how fleeting this moment could be. But I think it did represent what I've been saying for years, which is like, if we did not win the cup when we were the best team for all those years, one of the years when we do win the cup, it's going to be a year that you don't expect it, a team that maybe you don't expect, getting hot at the right time with maybe suboptimal players, suboptimal lineups, catching, a team with some injuries or something at the right time. It's going to be one of those. So I think that argument kind of opened some eyes for me last year. Some people saying, yeah, this guy's probably right. Like it's probably not going to be a year that you expected. It's going to be one of these outliers. So seeing that, seeing my prediction kind of in motion was nice for me.
Well, to be completely honest, we did not expect Galaxy to win anything for a while. So winning MLS Cup last year was a big surprise for a lot of people, which is why you saw that huge emotional outpouring because yeah, we've won cups before, right? But I always tell people every cup has like its own story, its own struggles, and Galaxy hasn't won every time. So getting there was a huge boost to the morale around here, and then obviously winning it was something completely unexpected. It was a huge surprise, but as we're seeing this season, we went from famine to feast to famine, and yeah, it is interesting hearing you talk about that, right? How like when Vanny's system is working, it's amazing, but things have to be like in a specific situation. Things have to be kind of perfect for it to work just right. Um, and yeah, it's been hard. I know a lot of people um, that aren't familiar with the LA Galaxy are probably wondering what's been going on, right? Because obviously, yeah, we had a lot of turnaround. We had some turnaround with some of the players that left. Excuse me. Dejan Jovalic, Gaston Brugman, Mark Delgado, which is a big one, and several other players like Jalen Neo, Martin Cáceres, no longer with the team, and you brought in new people. But since then, everything that could go wrong, ironically or coincidentally, has gone wrong. Where you bring in new young players to try to fill in those roles that were left vacant. For example, Ricky Puig is out, right? Um, and as far as Ricky Puig is concerned, Yeah, you mentioned that the love hate relationship Galaxy fans had with him. We were talking about how we wanted to see him mature into the player that we could really rely on. And we saw that happen during the playoffs in the run up to the cup, where we saw this guy literally evolve right in front of us like a Pokemon, evolving to this next form. And right when he was about to peak, he gets injured and he's gone. He's not there in MLS Cup. So we were like, oh my God, we were about to see like the best form of Ricky Puig, and we won't be able to probably, there's no guarantee he'll come back 100%, like you said, maybe never. But that's what we got to see. Now, it's been difficult because, like I said, some of the younger players are brought in, like have like Mateus Nascimento hasn't really panned out. Lucas Sanabria comes in. He's supposed to fill in that role with Ricky Puig. He comes in from Club Nacional in Uruguay. He suffers a broken collarbone in the second week of the season, so he's out for a while. And all these other players get injured. At one point, there's like 7 of 11 starters are hurt. Okay, fine. All right. There's always injuries, and the team is struggling, but at least they're making an effort on the pitch. Everybody finally gets healthy, with the exception of Ricky Puig, and they still keep losing. But definitely, like, the cherry on top has to be that loss to Sporting Kansas City, and we've gotten this to the point where um, it's not even panic; it's more like disgust and shock at how bad the team is. Because even when they're playing really good, they still manage to lose to a team that they should beat, and it's happened several times this season. That's been the really frustrating aspect of this Galaxy season, where everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. And a perfect example would be there was a corner kick in the match against Kansas City, and Maya Yoshida is wide open on this corner, and he hits the ball, and there's no way that anybody's going to stop this ball except it goes off the neck of a Kansas City player who wasn't even looking in that direction, and it goes out of bounds. Like, really? So that's been our season in a nutshell.
Yeah,
But
it's
turning the
new
attention.
and
Oh, go ahead.
unique ways to lose each and every week. Like you're
Yes.
not getting blown out, but sometimes you are. Like St. Louis kind of took you guys over, and then the Portland game was sloppy. But then, a couple 1-0 losses in here. Austin wasn't great. Losing on the road to Sporting KC in the way you did, not even allow. I mean, that's making history in a way you don't want to. No shots on net for the winning team. It's unique. But I think that there is a little bit of luck. It's also a little bit of, schedule difficulty. You didn't really play a whole lot of punching bags up until last week. So and I'm interested to see how it goes. And, plays facing, is this your first Eastern Conference team of the season? I'm kind of doing a
No, they
quick
played
update on that.
Orlando earlier. And
Orlando, yeah.
interestingly enough, when they played Orlando, it was Galaxy scored first. It's the only match in the entire season where they've scored first. It's the only time they've held a lead, and that lead only lasted 62 minutes. So Galaxy have only held a lead in any match all season long for 62 minutes. Um, but let me shift the attention back to the Red Bulls, because I want to know, as far as expectations go, what was the sentiment heading into 2025? And I know you kind of touched on that a bit, but do you feel that they've met those expectations so far?
No, I feel like we've fallen just short, but it's because of tactical change by Sandro Schwartz. I'm not really sure what he's thinking. I'm going to have to ask this weekend at one of the matches. And we changed to this 5-man back line, and all the reinforcements that came in the offseason were reinforcing the fact that we were going to play with 3 center backs and a couple wing backs. Omar Valencia's been fantastic, brought in for the squad. Marcelo Morales, we haven't really seen a lot from him. He'd been injured. Raheem Edwards, we know what he is at this point in his career, a left wing back, and he defensive liability, but he created a lot of chances in his time on the field so far. Cam Harper's been fantastic there. Kyle Duncan, not really, but you bring in. You bring back Tim Parker. You bring in Alexander Hack, who's these two huge bodies for the center midfield position. You say, like, from the center back position, and you say, okay, well, now we got 5 guys back there. Like, you got 5 center backs. Let's do it. And then one little slip up, and it was particularly bad against like the DC United match that we lost to them. And it was like, okay, we're going to a 4-man back line now. but we're not equipped for the 4-man back line. So it's a little bit, in limbo. We're not really sure a lot of things. What we do know is that the team is not pressing like they've been expected to. They do have a couple older players with, Choupo-Moting up top, Emil Forsberg. Everyone else is kind of an engine on this squad, but it's just enough of a change in gameplay to make it like we're not really sure. We don't really have that high press identity right now, and it's showing in the results with our home away splits. This used to be a team that would, be languid at home. We would draw a lot of matches, not score first, play too defensively, but then on the road when someone, plays offensive, you turn that power against them and you attack right back and you put the ball in the back of the net. So for a while, we were the better team on the road than at home. That is completely gone. That team is no longer. So I think we are kind of fighting this identity type thing. Ironically, all the young guys that we brought in, all the guys who played in the Open Cup match last night, were equipped for the 5-man back line for that formation. And you see how it works. I mean, obviously a much lesser opponent, but these things don't happen in a bubble. The young kids are playing a certain style. The academies are playing a certain style now, and the senior team is not really reflecting what's going on. So right now, I don't know. The expectations are like, what happens next? There are no expectations. It's just holding on for dear life, to be honest. I know, you know how it goes. You have a bad result, you have a bad game or two, and all of a sudden everyone's talking like it's the end of the world. That's how it is for us. That's how it is for us right now. It's the end of the world because we lost like one home game this year. So it's all over. Rebuild the whole thing.
Yeah, I was looking at the Red Bulls results this season, and they're so inconsistent. It doesn't seem like the team has found its footing. Do you feel like they're still looking to establish an identity for this season?
In the fact that we don't know what kind of back line we're going to go with, that we pivoted very early from what the original plan was, I do agree that we don't have the identity, and it needs to get back to pressing soccer. It needs to get back to the 5-man back line was good because you could shift. Right side goes up now, left side goes up now. You can really match your players up to what you think, your advantage is there. And with that gone, I don't know that we have the players or anything else to play the style that we want to play. We talked about Campana's goal for the Revolution, just kind of a breakaway, grounder to the bottom right corner of the net. We don't have any guys who can do that on the squad right now. So it is, a little bit lacking identity, but you say that it's unpredictable. It's quite predictable. 5 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss at home, outscoring our opponents 10-6. But on the road, no wins, 2 draws, 3 losses, 2 goals and 7 goals against. It's very predictable now. It's just not the predictable style or the results that we expected. We expected the other way, maybe like a 500 record at home, really hammering teams on the road. But 12 goals, not enough. 13 goals against, that's what we're cooking with that number.
Yeah, and the Eastern Conference is really like a huge mosh pit this year. You have like Charlotte, Atlanta. You at the beginning of the season, I honestly thought that Charlotte and Atlanta would be fighting for the top of the East with Inter Miami, which is always a heavy favorite, obviously. But Atlanta has been very disappointing. Charlotte were, a couple shock losses in a row now, and Inter Miami, like, now that they're done with the Champions Cup, they're like, all right, fine, let's focus on the season, and they came back with a huge win. But yeah, it seems like lost in the middle of all this is New York, right? Kind of just like, what's going on, right? But I saw that members of Viking Army SC and Empire SC, including my buddy Dave Einhorn, I met at MLS Cup, made the trip to Colorado Springs last night for last night's U.S. Open Cup match, which I saw was a solid 4-1 win over the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. I mentioned that because I just want to know, are you optimistic about an Open Cup run for the Red Bulls? And damn, do I wish LA Galaxy was in the Open Cup.
No, just no. When we have home games, they're not going to be played at Red Bull Arena. They'll be like Montclair State University or something like they were years ago when, we would go every year. I'm not an Open Cup guy. I don't care what happens. I want to love it, but we're missing some history. We talk about longest running trophy, and I want it to be a lot. I want it to be meaningful, but you can't. I'm not 20,000 butts in seats, and that's what we're missing. There's not going to be the atmosphere, and quite honestly, until the last two rounds, most casual Red Bull fans will not know that the team is playing a tournament or what nights it's happening.
Oh, that's unfortunate because I always remember that the first champion of the Open Cup was the Brooklyn Field Club, obviously a club from New York, one of the boroughs. So I always felt like New York has that wonderful history.
Well, they had the Rochester Rhinos too, right? The Rochester
Yeah,
Rhinos.
the Rochester
They were
Rhinos.
the last independent teams to win.
That's one of my core memories when the Rhinos won. I was an intern at the Wichita Eagle in Kansas at the time, and I
That
was in the
sounds
sports
miserable.
department. What's that?
I said that sounds miserable.
No, Wichita was cool. Wichita was cool. It's like when you think of Kansas, you're like, "Oh, okay, what is it? No, but Wichita was actually cool. It's one of the bright spots of living in Kansas. But I remember like being in the sports department late one night, and I was telling everyone, "Hey, I have to watch this game. Can I borrow a TV at the time, right? Because we didn't have like cell phones. We could look at games."
Oh,
And so somebody like rolled the TV in. I put it on. At first, I was the only one watching it. And by the end, like everybody in the sports department like was sitting around me, and they were all cheering for the Rhinos, and the Rhinos won. And we're like, "Yeah!" So that was cool. But yeah, it's been a while since a team from a lower division won. Which
even
is
a single game, and I don't expect that tonight, and it didn't happen yesterday. It's going to be all MLS teams from here on. Like the USL pipe dream is gone.
And if we go on that rabbit hole,
Oh, I'm sorry.
we're talking about. I'm sorry,
soccer.
Pro Rel. We're gonna run into our good buddy.
They're lucky if the league doesn't fold before Pro Rel ever happens.
No,
It's
I'm
2
gonna
years away,
say
it could happen.
if we go down that path, we're gonna run into our good buddy Ted. I won't say his last name, Bell.
Oh! Well, you say his name 3 times and he shows up, right? Is it like
Oh my god, like Beetlejuice, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so
there's also a manager of tactics online.
Oh
yeah,
yes.
say what manager of tactics that is, but him and me don't know.
No, I've gotten into my own little spats online regarding Pro Rel, and yeah, I'd rather not focus on that. So, Bob, one of the things I'm glad to have you on here is because I'm very interested to hear your perspective as a member of the Designated Pundits. If people aren't familiar with Bob and the Designated Pundit Show, you guys come on. You have a show, a weekly show to discuss all the matchups this weekend, in particular, like the marquee matchup or matches that you guys think have a special type of interest, and you guys make predictions and you guys share odds, right? But why have me explain it when you can explain it better? But also, I want to know how you guys have viewed the LA Galaxy as the season has unfolded. Because, like I said, when I was listening to you earlier this season, at one point you said it's real hard to put your finger on what's going on with the Galaxy. So let's hear it, Bob.
Yeah, so I'm the founding member, producer of the Designated Pundits, which is a Major League Soccer podcast. We recap the week, talk about the biggest events that happen every Monday, and we kind of do it from like a team perspective. So if there's a team that's extra hot or a team that is extra cold, we need to get to the bottom of why. We bring on some experts from everywhere in their league. We just had Campbell from Chicago to talk about the Chicago Fire. If you guys don't know Alex Campbell, he's not only a great podcaster, kind of a beat writer for them, he's also stepping in the play-by-play booth for the Chicago a little bit this season. So he was fantastic. Then we had guys from the Revolution recap just this past Monday to talk about why Revolution are being so good. So we don't recap every game. We pick a couple of really highlighted team points, streaks that you need to be aware of, stuff like that, to really highlight. And we do a little deeper dive into that on Mondays, different team focus and everything. It's not a fan podcast. We talk about where our bets went right and wrong. We talk about our favorite and worst moments of the week. And then we get into, discussing some of the bigger stories. And it's not always what the other podcasts are doing. It's not the chalky stuff. It's not the stuff everyone wants to talk about. It's not about Messi each and every week. We get into why Revolution changed their formation and now they won 3 3 straight games. So, we break that stuff down. And then on Thursdays, it is about sports betting. We don't talk about every game. We talk about the games we have predictions in, which is usually 9 to 10 of the 15 in a week. And we talk live sports odds. We talk, advantage. We talk about money. We keep a track of our bets throughout the season. We're over 10 units in the positive on this year, which is like, if you did that in NFL, you'd be on every major radio show in the world. Just been on an incredible run so far this year with the boys. It's a lot of fun. We have people peek in all the time. We've had, player interviews. We've had really big names from all around Major League Soccer and beyond. So, it's a lot of fun. Thursdays, again, heavy on the sports betting. Monday, recapping the week, talking where we went right, where we went wrong, kind of reflecting on, because podcasting, sports predictions is like, reflexive praxis. If you don't go back and think about what you did and what you would have done differently, it's not worth even talking about it. So you're just wasting your time. So, we really, really love both parts of that, ride. Last year I worked with BetUS as the Major League Soccer expert on their sports betting show. So I'm kind of heavy into that world now. I made my own sports projection model, use a little bit of AI to help me mostly with the formulas because I'm not like a Google Sheets wizard, but now I'm pulling data from major websites to help guide predictions based on win-loss splits, goals, XG, XGOA, XGA, expected goals against, all that stuff, and trying to come up with numbers. And in the end, I have a really nice model that I use each and every week. We make predictions and we check the sportsbook odds, see, what their implied probability is, which is, like the foundation of all sports betting. It kind of goes unknown, but basically if you get plus 100, that's even money. The implied probability is 50%. Could happen, could not happen. So we take all the sportsbook numbers and see what percentage does the sportsbook think this is going to happen? What is my percentage that I think is going to happen? And if there's an advantage betting in the positive or the negative numbers there. So, it gets a little complicated. I don't want to bore everyone with the numbers there, but we go live every Thursday, tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to check in, we'll be going after it.
Hey, thanks, Bob. So tell us about the Galaxy and the topsy-turvy season and what you guys think about the Galaxy. I mean, not just what you think about the Galaxy right now, but how your, I guess, idea of the Galaxy has changed as the season has progressed.
I'm looking right now because I can pull up every bet we've ever made on the Galaxy this year. And there's actually not a lot. So apparently I haven't been thinking about the Galaxy a lot. It's been fading, finding the right spots. St. Louis City, they were extremely hot. They were at plus 125, so you're getting a 25% juice on any dollar you put down. So we had them there. And otherwise, it's kind of been a little bit anti Galaxy. We had, both teams to score an over 2.5 on the Orlando City, LA Galaxy. So it's not really about finding winners all the time. Sometimes it's just like, where can we beat the sportsbook? Are you offering a good number on total goals or something like that? But yeah, again, I wasn't super surprised that the team took a big step back this season. How drastic it's been is surprising. The worst start ever for a MLS Cup winner, things like that. And I mean, there is not a whole lot going on, like Marco Royce, like if you want to be a star in this league, you had all off season. Like you knew you were going to be asked to do things a little differently than you did your whole career. You can't step up and live up to the moment so much that you're getting benched for 14-year-olds. Like what is going on here? So, it's a mix of frustration and everything else. But when I look at the team now, I'm going to be, looking at, where are they giving up goals? They're giving up goals at home more than they're giving up goals away. So, those are the things that I'm really going to hyper focus on. When I look at the next teams you guys play at home, you're playing LAFC at home, you're playing the San Jose Earthquakes, over San Jose Earthquakes, 2.5 goals. Book it. Like it is just a no brainer. Like they're going to score a ton in that game. So, from a betting and prediction standpoint, that's kind of how we do it. From everything else though, and I say this about West Coast teams. I'm on the East Coast. I can go to a Red Bulls game. If I don't stay for the media press conference, I could be home by 10 o'clock. LA Galaxy games kick off at 10:15. So it's nice. The dog's asleep. The wife's in bed. I have this time to watch to myself. So I could be watching Galaxy, but I've been finding other teams, quite honestly, that are just more interesting. I'm going to watch Portland instead. I'm going to watch San Diego. I mean, I could watch San Diego play all day.
Hey, I don't fault you at all. This last match was so boring that even the Kansas City fans were sitting on their butts, like sitting on their hands the entire game. And then they only cheered twice. They cheered when Galaxy gave them the lead, and then at the end of the match, and the rest of the time it's just like you're there to just be in an outdoor setting and enjoy the weather, and that's it. And that's what it's felt like to go to Galaxy games. If it wasn't for the social aspect of the fact that I get to hang out with friends and supporters before and after the matches, I think going to a Galaxy match would be a very dour experience, especially if you're a casual. Um, so we
You
do
find
have a.
strength in pain, right? Like that's
Oh my God! I hope
all
not.
stuff together.
I'd be drowning in drink, man. But we have a super chat right here. Brian, let's hear it. Super chat from Adam, and he asked, and maybe you could, get your insight on this too, because we've tried to address this. Have we given our thoughts on Vanny out yet? I'll say it real quick because we kind of talked about it over the weekend in our show. Uh, when the season began, I felt that Vanny had carte blanche because of the turnover and the injury to Pooch, and you just knew that. I told people, enjoy the MLS Cup because these don't come as often as we want to. It's a rare moment. The fact that they won on a rebuilding season was a huge thing. So enjoy it, savor it, because who knows when we're going to get that opportunity again. And I told everybody, temper your expectations for 2025. Obviously, we're in bizarro world, right? We had no idea this was going to happen. And for a long time, I was like, it's not Vanny's fault. These are things that are happening that are out of his purview, right? But now we're getting to the point where like they've had a healthy roster, they've had all these guys there, and yes, it's not entirely his fault because the players you set them up tactically, and you talk about what you need to do to win a match, and then these guys go out there and they still lose the game. Vandy's not the one out there, right? So, but there's a lot of blame to go around, a lot of finger pointing, and so do I think Vanny's going to be out? I said that if
He should have been fired
his,
immediately. He should
well,
have
he's
been
not.
fired and I will tell you exactly why. Because he is
Go ahead.
not built for Major League Soccer. I think he's a great coach.
Wow.
I think that he would have a lot of success in a lot of different places, but he needs to be a place that he can run and have the depth to run his style each and every game. That's why you guys were so good last year. I know you want to say like no injuries. You guys were pretty healthy most of last year. And once you got the wingers, and I watched Paint Sill in AFCON, I'm like, dude, this is a guy. This is gonna cook. And what happened? You guys were fantastic. You lost your number 10. You lost a couple of really central midfield pieces. You had your striker gone, and I was no Jovic fan. I think that even now, I think that he is a good player, not exceptional, but he fit your system really well. He was a really high volume guy for you, and Vanny needs that. And once everyone got hurt, it's like, I don't even need to see what's on the field. I know this isn't going to work because I know he doesn't have the players in the depth to put them in. So like at that point, you know already, just fire him. Like get him out, get someone else get someone else who's a worse coach who can coach in those kind of conditions and like steer the broken ship, because Vanny's not a steer the broken ship guy. Vanny is every guy needs to be healthy, playing at their peak, and then we're going to roll. And that's exactly what happened. I love Greg Vanny, but he's not made for this team right now. If he goes over to Belgium or something, or like a lower team in England that can spend, I could see him having immense success. A national team head coach. I'd love to see him take over. Wow. Not yet. Not right now.
But I was going to say that. That's kind of interesting.
at some point where I think that, like when the player pool isn't, drying up so quickly, we don't need to see more, do we? We don't need to see more Greg Vanny. We know what's going to happen. And they're going to turn it around and win a couple games here or there. But until the team is full healthy, until you have all the pieces fit in, until you get out of salary cap hell, that's what you have. It is what it is. It's nothing more. It's nothing less. It just is.
Yeah. So somebody did ask, like, do you think he's going to get fired? I feel like somebody said, one of our co-hosts actually said, I don't think he makes it back from this road trip because after Red Bull, you got to play Philly, and then, damn, that's you lost to Kansas City already. What if you lose to Red Bull and Philly? That's three big losses on the road, and
When
you're
you
still going to
lose
be
to Red Bull
winless. What's that?
when you lose to Red Bull and Philly.
Oh my god. Yeah, it feels like that, right? So I feel that I don't think they're going to let him go right away, but I want to factor in the fact that AEG, which owns the LA Galaxy, also owns the LA Kings. The LA Kings just crashed out of the cup after having the two win lead over Edmonton in their first round, and they lost for the fourth year in a row to Edmonton. Rob Blake, the GM, immediately got the axe. I feel like Jim Hiller is next, and AG is really upset about that. And I'm sure that Dan Beckerman, who's the president of AG, is looking at the LA Galaxy and they're like, "What the hell is going on over there?" And if things if the Galaxy doesn't get at least one or two wins in this very busy May that they have, I feel that Greg Vanny will be gone before the summer even starts. So that's what I think about that.
Where are those wins coming from, though?
A lot of people are saying that they're going to
San
win
Jose?
against LAFC because it's going to be back to that time when LA Galaxy doesn't really play well unless it's a derby match, and then they show up and then they play well because it's the big rival. Well, if you're going to do that, then why the hell are you going to show up to any other match and not give the same effort, right? So that's my gripe with that. Um, so you just said not if the Galaxy loses to Red Bulls, but when. So that leads me to my next question, Bob. Is revenge on the minds of all Red Bulls fans, considering Galaxy is in a really bad place right now? Kick them while they're down, right?
No, I don't think revenge is really on the minds here. I have, let's see, the implied probability of a minus 125 bet, which is sportsbooks are offering now, gives Red Bull a 55.56% chance of winning. I have them at 57.6, the draw at 23.8, and the away win for Galaxy at 18.6%. I think that those numbers are spot on. There is a really good chance that Galaxy can go in there and get a win. It's not about revenge. That was a game Red Bulls never had any business playing in anyway. I don't think there's a lot of bad sentiment. If anything, I was saying on my podcast before, I want to get like, those wax discs you ever see when they play Nashville and like you score a goal, they press like the record of the play call and give it to the player. Like if Red Bull goes out and takes like 4-0 to the Galaxy, we need to get one of those, plate it in gold, put it in a sleeve and send it to Andre Reyes. Like that would be my revenge. That's where I'm petty. It's not against the Galaxy. It's against, that man.
Yeah, and obviously, we've mentioned the good relationship between the supporters, not just like supporters groups, but the fans in general. Because I don't think I heard any kind of issue at all between Galaxy and Red Bull fans at MLS Cup, and neither have I ever heard anything really. I know there's a lot of bantering and a little chirping here and there, but nothing bad. So, if any Galaxy fans that are traveling out there and you run into Red Bulls fans, remember, there are brothers from another coast, brothers and sisters from another coast. So, treat them well. And we gave everybody a very good welcome when they came here. And, hopefully, we get the same in return. Now let's start focusing on this game because we found out today that the player availability report that Joseph Paintsil and Gabriel Peck will both be out for this upcoming match. That means that with Puig, Paintsil, and Peck out, all the three DPs, all the three Ps are gone. Paintsil and Peck will probably be, we heard, are going to be out for at least 10 days. So, yeah, Galaxy is in a very, very difficult situation right now. It'll be interesting to see what Vanny comes up with. Um, so
We kind of know
don't be
what that is, though, isn't it? We kind of know the formation. We know the tactics.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what can you tell us from the Rebel side of things as far as player availability? Availability.
It's been how it's going to be, and it's been how it is. Lewis Morgan is out. That's a huge player for our squad. A lot of pace in him. He is the kind of the breakaway guy. The rest I'm kind of interested to see because we did have a midweek game, so there are players traveling and playing on really short rest. The good news is a lot of those guys are of the age where you can play back to back days. Like Sofo, this guy's an engine. You could play him 390s in a row back to back, and he'll still be running. So I don't know. I would hope we go back to a 5-man. If Red Bull goes to a 5-man back line, just like you did with Sporting KC last week, if Red Bull doesn't want you guys to shoot, you're not going to get a shot off. Like that is not the issue. The issue is putting a ball in the back of the net on our own. So hopefully switch back to a 5-man back line. You have guys like Choupo-Moting, Forsberg up top who are just, consummate pros, able to turn it on anytime and turn something into nothing. I do think we have a lot of size that we haven't had before. Choupo-Moting, Noah Isla, Sean Nalis, all guys over 6'3", or maybe even 6'4", who are done really good things this year. It's going to be the midfield's going to be interesting because that's our weak spot this season. There hasn't been a lot, and I think that's why we were toying back with like the 4-man back line to give us a little extra midfield depth to try to connect the defense with the attack. Although I don't think that's necessarily the problem. It's what's been experimented with the most. And right now, the Galaxy, that's where we want to attack them, right? That's where we want to beat you guys. If we can beat you in the midfield, everything else is going to set itself up. I really love your guys' center backs. Zanka, Yoshida, Garces, when he's not running backwards and headbutting his own players. He's been looking really good too. I just really think there's a lot of ways Red Bull can win this game. So let's, I'm sure there's equal amounts that they can screw it up. Little own goal by Tim Parker late in the game. Maybe you guys walk away with one on the other end there. I don't know, but I'd like to be confident, but I can't just because the offense. But the home away splits, that's what my prediction model is based off of. 4 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, 10 goals, 6 goals against in 6 matches. That says it enough. Is Galaxy going to be the lucky team to score twice? I would have to say no, just based on what I've seen so far.
Yeah, if you're mentioning to me that the New York defense is a little stronger this year, LA Galaxy is probably going to struggle mightily to try to put the ball in the net at all, because that's been the biggest thing for this team. The defense isn't necessarily bad, but there's a lot more pressure on the defense because the Galaxy midfield has been largely inept compared to last season, and the offense is just really hard to come by. Um, so all-time records between these two teams, and we're talking just regular season. 46 times these teams have played each other in the regular season. Red Bull New York has 20 wins, Galaxy 18, and 8 draws between both teams. Away, the match is going to be, at a Sports Illustrated Stadium. Correct, right? Stadium, not arena. Um, so Red Bull has 13 wins, Galaxy has 8 wins, and there's 3 draws between both teams. Of course, the last time these two teams met was MLS Cup 24. The last time they met in the regular season was in April of 2021 at the Dig, which was a 3-2 Galaxy win. The last time Galaxy visited the former Red Bull Arena was in May of 2019, which was a 3-2 Red Bulls win. And in case you're wondering, the last time Galaxy was able to defeat the Red Bulls at Sports Illustrated Stadium was in May of 2017, which was a 3-1 Galaxy victory. So looking at this, like I was looking at like the total, how many times these guys have played each other, and at no particular moment does one team like really have a considered dominance, I guess, over the other. Obviously, they don't play each other as often as they used to in the expanded MLS format, but I always do enjoy when Galaxy plays New York, just because the whole LA versus New York thing, East Coast versus West Coast, and also because, especially in the early years of MLS, I always felt like the Red Bulls, and just the fact that they're New York, were destined to be like one of the big pillars of MLS. Obviously, I still consider them like an important club because I have that soft spot in my heart for all the legacy clubs. But yeah, well, it's been a while, right, since the Red Bulls have had anything where they can say, yeah, we're gonna dictate the way that the league goes. Obviously, the MLS Cup appearance was a big thing, but what do you think heading into this match? Do you
Three
think
shields in
sentiments are high?
5 years is a pretty big deal too. Although I would be on the side to argue that that doesn't count as a trophy. uh, it still matters when you're out there winning each and every week and you're the best club in Major League Soccer. And it's not only the best club. I mean, they had some of the smartest guys too. Like if you turn on MLS 360, like it's 4 former Red Bull players that you're going to see on there. And that's not by mistake. And that's not only because of geographical region. It's more than that. So, you talk about 2019, that's ancient history. You might as well send that up in a smoke signal. I like hearing about history, but as far as like especially sports betting, like does not matter at all. Does not matter on this particular outcome. My co-host on my regular show, Sir Alex, was there at Giant Stadium, dumping a bag of Monopoly money on Beckham in his first time in New York. So I do think
I
there's
love
like
it.
a little bit of a rivalry because it's like that like coastal kind of thing. Biggie Tupac. I'm trying to think of like any other LA New York rivalries. I think there's a
Fat Joe,
basketball
Ice
one.
Cube, the
Sure.
Dodgers and
Fat Joe
Yankees,
and Ice Cube. Yeah,
right?
those are the two guys that I think of when I think of New York, LA.
Well, let's talk about the ref report because that was unveiled earlier today. So there we go. Let's get into it. The referee for this match is going to be Guido Gonzalez Jr. I know it sounds familiar. We're going to talk about that right now. So Gonzalez Jr. has refereed in FIFA youth friendlies. He's refereed in NASL, USL, US Open Cup, Leagues Cup, and you'd be surprised to hear that I heard he refereed in Copa del Rey, yeah, in Spain,
He
since 2018.
refereed, this is a true story. He refereed the ESC kick around games when we were in a league at a place called Turf City in Wayne, New Jersey. It's right off the wonderful Route 23. He was a ref at like it was just he was making a couple bucks extra. You pay your ref fees like whatever 50 a season, whatever. And he was reffing those games. And when he started becoming an MLS ref, we're like, hey, we know that guy. He was reffing when the Empire Supporters Club team had a competitive league up there. It was like a Tuesday night, 5-a-side, like in an indoor soccer league. And he was one of the refs there.
Oh, did anybody like shove him down on the ground or anything like that at one point? Because he's been pretty rough with the Red Bulls.
Yeah, no hate that we know, but it's hard, especially when you do that for like a supporters club team. You don't want to be seen as the homer. So I don't know that there's any bias, but if anything, I would think that just being a pro's pro, and if anything, he would try to prove that he's not vying for the squad that he's refereed for before.
Yeah. Well, since 2018, he has refereed in 105 MLS regular season matches. 4 of those with LA Galaxy for a record of 1 win, 0 draws, and 3 losses. All of these away. 12 with Red Bull New York for 3 wins, 4 draws, and 5 losses, with a record of 1 win, 1 draw, and 2 losses at home. Gonzalez Jr.'s last LA Galaxy match was a 2-0 loss to Real Salt Lake away this April 5th of 2025. He handed out 3 yellow cards to RSL, to the LA Galaxy. Galaxy's only ever regular season win with him was a 3-0 defeat of San Jose Earthquakes. That was on June 29th of last season. He handed out 1 yellow to San Jose, 3 to LA Galaxy. His last Red Bull New York regular season match was a 3-2 loss for the Red Bulls versus Columbus Crew at home on October 19th, 2024. He handed out 1 yellow to Red Bull, 3 to Columbus. And interesting to note, Red Bulls haven't won a match with him since a 4-3 win versus Austin. That was way back in July 24th, 2022. So, yes, in case you're wondering, this rematch of MLS Cup 24, we are getting the same referee. Obviously, that match was a 2-1 victory for LA Galaxy over Red Bulls. He handed out 1 yellow to LA Galaxy, 2 to Red Bulls. Pretty even. I have no issues really with his officiating in that match. This is going to be his 9th match of 2025. So far, he's handed out 34 yellows, including 1 red, for an average of 4.25 yellows per match and has awarded 2 penalty kicks. Um, Bob, I know you mentioned he's familiar with Red Bull supporters. Obviously, we're all familiar with him from MLS Cup. Any insight into him being part of this game again as we head into this match?
No,
Okay.
no. It just I try not to think about it too much. I
Yeah.
don't think he's a ref that really inserts himself into the match too much, but he is kind of quick on the, authority thing, giving cards out. So, maybe, Red Bull Choupo-Moting flaps his trap a little bit or something. I wouldn't be surprised to see like a coach get a card in this match just because, you got two coaches that are, just trying to keep their team above water. And, I think it's strange talking about Red Bull like that. Like they're at 500, 4 wins, 3 draws, 4 losses. Like that's right where you want to be at this point in the season before you get hot before the playoffs. But like it's just, the swirl of social media negativity. Like you would think that this team was, winless. So you'd think that we were the Galaxy. And that's just not the case. So we'll see. You know what ref you're getting, and that does change the way you play sometimes, maybe a little less aggressive at first, but this is supposed to be a high pressing team. We haven't seen it anyway. Maybe this is the game, you go out there, get a yellow for your team. I don't know. Inspire the boys. I don't know.
So, Bob, this is where you shine. And because you're our guest, I'm going to let you go first. Predictions time. Let's hear what your prediction is heading into this match.
I think that this match is going to look a lot like the Nashville match that Red Bull played, and it's going to be like 2 goals in 25 minutes for Red Bull, and then nothing. It's going to be the most boring second half you've ever watched. I don't see LA Galaxy scoring a whole lot. My prediction model has them right at 0.85 goals. If we move to the 5-man back line, I would say that's immediately just penciled in for 0. But Red Bull's offense has not really inspired a whole lot of hope. So maybe, you can get a banger off a set piece. Maybe, we have all these extra height guys, all these 6'4" plus, who haven't really used their head much this year. Maybe this is one where you got to, take on Yoshida or Garces and, challenge them. Hey, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us in the air. Red Bull loves taking 50 corner kicks a match. So I could see something like that happening. An upset is absolutely on the cards, and anyone who tells you any differently is lying. But if I had to place a bet, it would be Red Bull 2-0, a little get-right game for the offense, and I would think that it would go exactly how you would think. Like, it would be Choupo-Moting with one and Forsberg with the other, maybe a player like Edelman or Caballo with, like, the, 2 both assists, something like that. Like, I don't see a whole lot of weirdness happening in this match. I think it's just going to be played kind of exactly how you'd want it. Huge home advantage for Red Bull here. Galaxy traveling with all these injuries. It's just I can't bet under like 1/2 a goal because I can't imagine laying that kind of juice and just riding the corner of my seat the whole time. But I think that LA Galaxy is going to have a really hard time putting anything in the back of the net. And if we play correctly, I think that everything should be just about as predictable as could be.
So the FedEx truck just put up my dog might start barking. Either that or she's really upset with your prediction.
Could be.
But yeah, I try to be an optimist week in, week out. Obviously, we're a Galaxy pod, but from all my years of being a journalist, I always try to call it like it is, and I try to be as impartial as possible when it comes to these kind of things. Every time I predicted a win for this Galaxy team, it's because I have felt that they really have had a legitimate chance at winning a match. Um, and unfortunately, they've lost. Every time I predicted a win, they've lost. Obviously, that one at all this entire season. The only time I predicted a win where I was like, this is absolutely a lock, they're going to win, was against Herediano in the Champions Cup. I was just like, there's no way that this team is going to come in and beat the Galaxy, the MLS Cup reigning champions. And obviously, Galaxy smashed them in that match. But ever since then, it's been so difficult to figure out what's going to happen next with this club. I really want to say that a lot of people are saying, "Oh, the kids are going to win this match for us." I really want to say Galaxy is going to go in there and get a win, but let's be real, right? Galaxy is in a really deep, deep, deep hole right now, and Red Bull will definitely want to get one back on them for the last MLS Cup. They're playing at home. Galaxy, I mean, they play a little bit better on the road, but I don't see this being a Galaxy win at all. Um, Maybe somehow they can squeeze out a draw, but in the end, I do say it'll probably be a very demoralizing 2-0 win by the Red Bulls. If anybody in the Galaxy does get a goal, it'll just be that little shred of hope, just to give you the feeling that they might do something, and then at the end, the Red Bulls are just going to shut the door on them and gore them out of the stadium, and that'll be that. And then all the pitchforks, all the torches are gonna start to light up
We're back.
around the dig, and Vanny's gonna start pulling his suit there, like his shirt tie, be like, oh my god, he's gonna start looking a little disheveled because he'll start hearing the chants coming down from the village.
Which is rough because if you looked at the beginning of the season, you look at your schedule, it'd be like at New York, at Philadelphia. Okay, those two are losses, so we got to start strong because we know what's coming up. But now we're at a place where like you've been playing so poorly, it's like two more losses would really be an incredible bad run of form. But then which one do you win? Like I don't see that either. But if you want a spicy bet, and I'll kind of finish up with this, both teams to score no. It's going at plus 118. You're getting your money back plus 18% on whatever you wager. I have my model going at like 53.03% that both teams don't score. So anything above even money is a fantastic play. And if you want to play that, you can win if Galaxy doesn't score, or you could just root against Red Bull to score. And in either one of those possibilities, you can cash out. So, I kind of want to leave you that. If you want to kind of divorce yourself from the result, which I like to do when I'm betting on a team that's my own, there you go.
Anything's possible with this team. I see some people in the comments saying that they think Yoshida's going to score another own goal. I have a friend who's he lives in England, and he's a Southampton supporter, and he recently contacted me. And he's like, "Wow, what the hell's going on with you guys?" Obviously, his team just got relegated, right? So he's just like, "Damn, we suck." And then he's looking at us. He's like, "What's going on with you guys? Aren't you guys the champs?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I don't know what's going on." And he said, "Well, Yoshida in his career has scored more own goals than he has actually scored goals. So just keep that in mind." So that made me chuckle a little. I was like, all right. But hey, Bob, man, thank you so much for joining us again. We love to have you on. We love your insight, and it's always good to talk to somebody who really knows, the sport, and tease it not just for for the numbers and for what you see on the field, but has all this data to back it up. And I really appreciate having you on here. For anybody that wants to follow you or the Red Bulls or know more about the Designated Pundits, where can they find you and the Pundits on socials?
You can find us at thedesignated.pundits.com. We recently teamed up with the Hooligan Soccer Network, so you can go to Hooligan Soccer. You can find us on every major podcast platform, now on Spotify with video. Apparently that's a big deal on Spotify now. We are approved there. So, you can find us every major podcast platform. Hit me up at Bob V Soccer on every social media platform. I prefer the Blue Sky one, but I still got to make money on the Fascisty one every once in a while. You can find me yelling into the ether and fighting with random internet strangers. So that's always a lot of fun. You can hit me up there, give me a follow, and I'd appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on the show. I really, really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight.
Yeah, Bob, it's awesome having you on here. And for anybody that's traveling to the game, whether Galaxians, ACB, Lars, Outlaws, please stay safe out there. Remember, the Red Bull supporters are really cool, and we want to send a big shout out and a big hug to all our brothers and sisters from the New York Red Bull supporters. From everybody here at News Across the Galaxy, from Bryant and me, we want to wish all of you a very good evening, whether you're on the East Coast or on the West Coast. As always, keep on nagging, and one thing that joins us all together, baby, Wu-Tang for life. Let's go.